everybody, it is Romania Black, and we're on episode 29 of March Comes In Like a Lion. Which, we're getting into season 2 here, and this arc with Hina has been so good. I did not see it coming, and it's just been heartbreaking. And Ray, Ray is balancing a lot of things. He's trying to get ready for the tournaments that he has coming up, and he's trying to use the money that he gets from those tournaments to help Hina just in case, but he's also trying to be there for Hina and support, and she's trying to figure out what does she do with the situation because she's still got to get through middle school. We're not even talking about high school yet, so it's a lot. It's a lot, and I've really enjoyed where this season has taken the character development with Ray and Hina especially, but just all across the board. I know that I'm looking at comments about the Godo and Kyoko episode. I did want to make note of that real quick. I think Alexander Q pointed out something really cool, talking way back with episode 24. Which that's one of my favorite episodes so far. I mean, I've loved the Hina and Ray arc so far a lot, but episode 24, Chaos, is just so good. And I think that Alexander Q brought up a really cool point with it, saying that, the mom, in her case, she kind of just made it this standard of, oh, Ray's doing great with this, so we're just going to let him have it. And Alexander Q pointed out a really good point that Kyoko and Ayumu, they're not necessarily lazy, as I kind of described them, but rather they're just kind of like annoyed with the situation that the mom kind of feeds in like the dad does, and so they just kind of give up, and that just leads to them, they know what they're doing is wrong, but they just don't know what else to do about it, and they have this kind of like powerless demeanor. And I think that translates into this whole thing with Ray and Hina, whereas Ray's like, don't give up, you're not alone, we'll keep working through this. I think that Ray's coming from a place of seeing how others have broken down around him and how he himself has felt at times like giving up, and he doesn't want Hina to go through that same experience. So it's really good. I really, really, really love the way that this mangaka treats these characters and the weight and gravity of these situations, because they are really, I mean, if you've ever been to junior high and high school and have had these similar experiences, you know how impacting they are. So, but I think that's really, really cool. So I'm ready to dive in. I don't know about you all, but I want to give a really quick shout out over to Patreon, to patrons, to thank you all for your support, and to thank everybody on YouTube as well as Patreon, but especially to our philanthropy tier. So I want to thank them for all that they do. So special shout out to Alex Cornejo, to Anime Annie, to Alexandra Q, as well as to Be Happy, Bryant, Dana, Danny Donmai, Davorin, Destiny Marie, Damage 3245, Danger Zone, Ichu, Eric, Ghostly Turnip, Fisho, as well as Elfreya, Lyndon, Matthew Palfinier, Murphew, Nameless Monster, Nicholas, No Nickname, Sunspots, Shimoyama, Trails, and Translucent Men. Thank you all so much for your support. I greatly appreciate it. All of my love. Anyway, so I'm ready to dive into this episode and see what all we get. Last week was pretty sad. I haven't cried like episode 26 though, but it's gotten pretty close. So we'll just have to hope this episode does not bring out tears in Romania. But we're going to start this episode, and we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Maybe started that a little wee bit too early, but I'll keep the timer on it. I do this every week because I lose track and I'm not good at math. So we had 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, and 29. So we're at episode 7. Oh, so next week's the rule of 8. So great. I love that shot of Ray reaching towards the light of the door. Oh, and the butterflies up there on the line. Yeah, I love Ray reaching for the light and doing that here too. And the butterfly he's reaching for too. Oh, and Hina's reaching for the same thing. Oh, yeah. Love it. And the 2 wind chimes, could they represent both Hina and Ray? Maybe. Aw, I wonder if the necklace that Hina's wearing is something that Ray gives her. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see, won't we? Start of the rainy season. Oh, I just love it. It's so lived in. Oh. A nosebleed. Oh. She doesn't want Ray to see her like that. She's like, there's nothing embarrassing about a nosebleed. Calm your ass down. Aww. Peaches come from a can. They were put there by a man in a factory downtown. Yeah. It's complicated, as we would expect. Oh. Oh, with the hydrangeas. Well, did he lie? Wait, come to think of it. No, sorry, I don't. I'm glad he's honest with her. You liar! Oh. Aw. Aw. Ah! That cat's gonna go right back. Oh, him just sitting there with her. That's all she needs. Is she going to talk with Ray? Are they walking together? Yeah. Oh, why is it her fault? Oh. Oh my God. Ooh. Oh, and him being mad on her behalf. No. Oh, that's so beautiful. Oh. Damn. Oh. Oh. Oh, and that's pressure on her too. Yeah. Oh no. Oh. Oh no. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, the aunt. Okay. All right. Misaki. An amicable resolution. What? sorry. You're getting a little ahead of yourself. Hmm. Oh. Oh. Yeah. They're shaking. Oh. Oh. Everybody's like, you okay there, son? Oh no! I'm glad my dogs can't hear this. Chippy! Meg! Sorry! Oh my god! Oh my god. They're in the middle of something. Mm-hmm. Oh. Him helping both of them. Yeah. There we go. There we go. Oh, yeah. Oh my god, no. Ah! The dog! His dog! This is perfect pooch! Shut up! Oh my god. Well. Oh my god. For once. Ah! Oh my god, I want to know the dog's name. The Prince of the East. Oh my god. I don't know. I don't like his tongue clicking. There's so much I can talk about right now. Ah! We're the princes of the next generation, of course. Oh my god, this little wiener dog, I cannot. Oh. I love Ray laughing there, though. Oh. Okay. I love it. Oh my gosh, she makes it look so smooth and easy. Like, it's just they're in another world. Oh my gosh. Mm. Oh. Oh, it is. Oh. Oh, in his mansion. Oh my god, we're going to talk so much about this, but the contrast between the two of them. Shut up. I love that Nikaido doesn't judge him. Get that sweet saxophone in here. That beautiful sweet sax. Oh. 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 You gotta. Okay. Oh, don't say that. Don't say that. You're doing so much for her. You're being helpful by just being there. Right. You're doing so much by just being there for her. Oh. I want to be needed. Oh. Okay. I love this. This episode's so good so far. And him walking to his match. Ooh, just grip that bag. Yeah, the storm. Don't let it throw you off, though. Okay, what now? He doesn't answer that. Uh-huh. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, I love it. Oh. Right. But I want to win. Yeah. So semifinals. Oh my God. Oh, come on. I want him to win. This guy. I like that Smith is just right over there. Oh, I like it's him versus Smith. 23. Ah. Fast and aggressively. That'd be so distracting. That would be so distracting. Ah. Ooh. Nice. Okay. Like Smith looking so smooth there. It does bug him, yeah. Yeah. Very fast. Like to get you in a rut. Ooh. Yeah. But what do we do? Nice. Okay, Ray. I'd be so annoyed by that. I'm sure that's the intent. Yeah, to try to lure you into a false sense. Oh, come on, buddy. Don't lose the semifinals. Come on. Huh. I love how silent this is, just the noise. So, oh, hmm. And it's just loud enough to where Ray can hear him. Oh, huh. But what now? Oh, so ominous. I love seeing outside what people are doing, and then you come back to this. Mm-hmm. But so then what? So aggressive. Huh. And then a lot of them have stopped playing. They've already moved on. Huh. Yeah, why is this his mantra? Mmm. Ooh, what we're gonna do, Ray? Oh, we get to hear his perspective. Oh my god! Oh, this tempo is so off. Yeah, annoying. Uh-huh. Ooh. Oh. Oh, shit. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Oh. Oh, oh, oh. Oh. Oh, wow. That was really well done. Oh, good. Yay! Oh my god. Noisy. Ah! Me? Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! We're playing an important match! Oh my God. Oh. 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 Ah. Oh my God. Oh, he's been crying. Oh my God. Oh. Oh my God. With all the things. Oh, his family restaurant. Oh my God. Ha. Wow. We're not alike at all, huh? Oh my God. What a great episode. Wow. Wow. That was really good. Damn. Well, all right. Hmm. I love this ED so much. The OP and ED this season are so good so far. I love it. Uh, I hope Chef Studio does a season 3 of March because I really think they should. I would love to watch it. Maybe they're waiting till the manga's done. Who knows? Uh, all right. So that's next week. Well, this episode was really freaking good. My God. So this season ain't coming to play. Oh man, March comes in like a lion has been so damn good. My deodorant is like failing me. I can feel it. But no, this season's been amazing and this episode was so good. This might be up there as one of my favorites because it had a lot of humor and a lot of heart to it and it wasn't total like episode 26 I just sobbed because it was just so sad. And 27 and 28 have been kind of like when you've cried your eyes out and there's just no tears left, so you're just irritated. And then this is kind of the fallout and the bounce back from that. So, because here's the thing, as much as I've appreciated episodes 25 through 28, like focusing on Hina and Ray particularly and getting Akari thrown into that, at the end of the day, Ray's still got these tournaments to worry about, and he's still like, that's the thing about, you know, bullying, about life events and things that are traumatic. You still have to like go on with your life and keep doing things. And so that can be often really hard, especially if you're struggling, you know, emotionally. It can be hard to move on and keep doing things, which as we've saw that with Ray in season 1, and now he's trying to help Hina through it here in season 2. So crazy talk, right? But I want to go ahead and talk about the end card and the mangaka for it before we start, because otherwise I think I'll forget. But Rieko Nishihara is the creator of this end card. It is interesting. I like the symbolism of, you know, Momo looks like a little girl and Ray's there. They both look very human. But then Akari and Hina both look like these octopus squid monsters. And Ray is just trying to like be between them, and Hina's like biting at him and stuff and all of this. And so I feel like to him, Hina and Akari are these two entities that he's trying to communicate and help with, but parts of them feel so alien to him that he can't quite relate. So maybe that's what it's symbolically referring to. we can interpret it lots of different ways, but the artists, the mangaka's style of drawing their other works is kind of like simplistic like this. For some reason, the way Hina's drawn reminds me of Beavis and Butthead, and I cannot tell you any other reason, but it does! So, not my favorite end card, but it's still, I think, a fine end card. So, we do a nice transition in this episode back from Hina to the situation of the tournaments at hand. One thing I really like is that before, Hina wasn't at all really worried about her being embarrassed and embarrassing Rei or embarrassing herself in front of Rei, but now she's starting to care. So you can determine that a number of ways. You could say that because she's gotten closer to Rei, she doesn't want him to see, that side of her. You could also interpret it as because of the bullying she's felt at school, she now might feel on edge around Rei and wants to show off the best case of her. If you're shipping like me, then it's a sign that she likes Rei, kind of like what she was doing with the ace, and now she's kind of embarrassed around Rei, and she's like, oh, I don't want you to see me all like this, and Rei's like, it's fine. So, I mean, I'm going to interpret it the shipping route, right? But I think that it is important that Rei doesn't judge her. And that he's like, it's not embarrassing. It's okay. You can have a nosebleed. I like he tries to make her feel better by being like, oh, people get nosebleeds all the time. And she's like, well, did you get nosebleeds? And he's like, no. and at first he lies. And I'm glad he goes back and tells her the truth. I'm glad he doesn't lie to her. He tells her the truth being like, well, oh, sorry. I actually haven't got a nosebleed. And she's like, I'm just making it worse. So, but I love the bond and camaraderie that Hina and Rei are developing with one another. I think it's really nice. I had to sing Presidents of the United States Peaches when we see all these peaches here with Akari. So apparently some stuff at school has happened and it's complicated. I also like the hydrangeas in the foreground there. It's like everything, what I really liked about the opening of this episode is everything was so dingy and like worn in and lived in. It felt rusty and dingy and dirty. And even the inside of the house has kind of like that musty, like dusty quality to it. But then you look outside and there's those hydrangeas. So if we're talking about hydrangea and the meaning of them, because I've seen them in a lot of shows and it's always worth noting what they mean. In Japanese culture, hydrangeas or ajisai have many meanings and associations, talking about they're associated with heartfelt emotion, gratitude, and apology. According to legend, a Japanese emperor gave hydrangeas to the family of a woman he loved to apologize for neglecting her in favor of work. So, you could tie that into this episode, whereas Rei's like, I gotta go make some money, gotta go do my job, so I'm sorry I can't be here 24/7 with you. You could tie it into that. Also, there's blue hydrangeas and pink hydrangeas. Blue symbolizes gratitude and apology, can signify serenity. It could mean that blue hydrangeas can mean someone you give them to is important in your heart. And pink hydrangeas are associated with genuine emotion because their shape resembles a beating heart. And they are also represent family ties because many small flowers make up the flower ball and they're tightly bound together, symbolizing a happy family. So yeah, I mean, I feel like Rei is part of their family at this point. Now, whether he marries into the family later, I can only hope, but we'll talk about Akari and everything, but I definitely think that these hydrangeas kind of have that, they're there for a reason. They are intentionally put into this episode to not only signify Rei being a part of this family, but also his connection with Hina and his desire, which we'll talk about his desire to do something for her to make her happy. So yeah, I'm glad that the hydrangeas are there, and I'm glad that Akari doesn't want to talk about school in front of Hina, because she, as we don't know as the audience yet, Hina's been crying about it hysterically, which causes the nosebleed, and so she doesn't want to bring it back up again. But I like the idea. I just like the idea of Rei just sitting there. Like, Rei, it drives me crazy in this series because Rei is like, he's like, I want to do something for her. He's like, he's not trying not to look at the sun, but he's a type that does what he's told. And he's like, I brought some peaches, but maybe ice cream would have been better. And she's like, no, peaches are good. I like peaches. She's like, it's okay. I'm glad you brought that, right? And so he smiles at that. And I just, it just completely floors me because Rei, this whole time, keeps being like, I wish I could do something for her. I wish I could repay her back. I wish I could, be there for her in a way. But looking at this image here of her watching him just sitting there, Rei doesn't realize that he's doing so much. Like him just sitting with her and giving her space and being quiet and letting her have this moment, that is so much. And I don't think Ray realizes the power that just that has. And I wish he would realize how effective it is, but then we wouldn't have a series. So I'm sure we'll go back to it eventually. But I love that he just sits there holding the cat, and it's just, and she thanks him. And then he's like, sure, you're welcome. And he's like, sure. And that's all there is to it. Just the two of them sitting there, and it's the sweetest thing in the world. I love it. I want to ship them so badly, but anyway. So then Ray and Akari go to town, and we explain what happened. And I'd had hopes for a hot second that maybe Hina talking to the teacher would help in some way. Instead, the teacher makes it sound like it's Hina's fault that all this is going on. And what I like about this scene is that both Ray and Akari are mad on Hina's behalf. And that moment where Ray is like, all I could do was see red, and it wasn't just the sky, I was like, oh. So let's bring Ray up here. We're going to put Ray up here. And the idea of him, quote unquote, seeing red on Hina's behalf. So for her, he was like, he's mad for her. He's like, why would they do this? Why are they being this way? And Akari's mad too. She's like, I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense. But as a teacher, I feel so bad for Hina because one, the teacher messed up from the start. But now the teacher's doubling down and gaslighting Hina and making it seem like it's her fault. And it's like, but it isn't. And it's always such a thing. And I like that this series addresses it, where if you have like a dispute between two parties, like Hina and her family and whoever, you know, if the other girl gets in trouble in her family, both sides believe that they're right. And we, the audience, can make assumptions and make our own decisions of which side we believe in. Obviously, I'm siding with Hina because I think that's the correct side. But the parents of the girl that's bullying, they're not going to get the full story. So they're only going to get her story. And so they're going to believe that they're right. And because they don't have all the information and they're not having this like third eye, third party omniscient view like we are. So it's like, it's so frustrating. But the teacher messed up from the start, and then they double down, and I hate when teachers do that. I hear about it all the time. I'm like, just admit you're wrong and move on, and or rectify the problem, fix it, you know. And instead, she does exactly the opposite, and poor Hina is just left just flailing. She's like, what do I do? She's just in this situation where she feels helpless, and Akari's like, until a little while ago, she was furious and she was crying hysterically. And Ray just imagines her drowning. And she's like, my mind went blank when I heard. And I love that shot of her just solid white. And Ray is like, what's she going to do? And I like that Akari, she's like, you know, what if I get called in? And Akari kind of starts to ramble a little bit. She's like, what if I get called in for a talk? And you kind of get from Akari's perspective, she's like, I'm the sister, I'm not the mom, so I'm going to have to speak as a mom to a girl that's not even my daughter. And she's like, I'm going to have to talk to these parents. What if they're intimidating? What do I say? What if I can't defend her? What if I make the situation worse? And she's like, what if my grandpa gets brought in? And what if his confectionery shop gets, you know, talked down upon because of how he acts in the meeting? Like, what's that going to lead to? And so she's kind of spiraling in this moment, even though the part about the grandpa was hilarious. And then she's like, what if I bring in my aunt? And then Misaki gets brought up, and she's like, the shadowy monster of Ginza. And I'm assuming it's a Japanese street. And she's like, can't we come to an amicable resolution? Like, she's going to pay him off like a mobster. Like Akari starts to spiral for a hot second. And then he's like, what do we do? And she's like, it'll be fine. She's like, it'll be fine. Hina didn't do anything wrong. Like, she has to tell herself that. And she's like, besides, there are so many people I can rely on. I'm sure it'll work out. She's like, I've got my grandpa, I've got my aunt. And in that moment, I love that Ray is like, I'm here too. I love that Ray's like, I'm also here. Ray, because he's seeing these people struggle in front of him, and he's like, hey, don't forget about me. I'm also here. And for Rei to not shrink into the background, for Rei not to shrink into the shadows, but to offer himself up as someone to support them is huge. Is huge. I like the dogs in this series also get their own line of dialogue too, like the cats. That's great. But I love that Akari in that moment, she's like, you're being loud. And she's like, thank you. She's like, I'm counting on you, okay? I'm counting on you to help Hina. And he's like, of course. We're going to go back to that. But for now, we'll put down Akari counting on Rei. Counting on Rei to be there. Not only for her, but also for Hina. Because all this is for Hina at the end of the day. Right? So then we go to Nikaido. I have all these questions. I have lots of questions. I hope we find answers. He has this, it's not a dachshund. I think it's a Cocker Spaniel. I think he has a Cocker Spaniel. My mother used to raise Cocker Spaniels. So looking at this, I was like, yes. He's like, oh, one more win for the both of us and we'll make it to the finals. Everything about this, he just, the Bluetooth headset, he's holding the glass of juice like a glass of wine. He has, or green tea like a glass of wine. He has this little Cocker Spaniel in his lap. She has like a pearl collar and a little heart shape. Her name's probably Chanel Chan. Like just, oh my God. I love this with the embroidered sweater and the PJs and the red themes. Like all of Rei's room is like blue toned. His is red toned because of course it is. He has like the shogi moves on this little tripod hanging thing so he can see it. I love the contrast of Nikaido's bougie ass room in this mansion. He has all the amenities. He has this dog, everything you could want. And then you cut to Rei in this little apartment with nothing but a bed and a shogi board. And the contrast between the two of them as best friendos. And it makes me respect Nikaido a lot more because Nikaido doesn't ever like boast about his bouginess. He's bougie born and raised. Like he's bougie by blood, but he never like flaunts it in front of people. He never just says, look at all the money I have. He's not Seto Kaiba that's like, screw the rules, I have money. Like that business. But also whenever he's with Rei, he never acts like, oh, this is all you've got here? Oh, what a dingy apartment. Like how pedestrian. He's never like that at all to Rei. And it makes me respect Nikaido so much because he never acts above Rei. He actually fears Rei. He thinks Rei's his biggest rival. And it just, these scenes make me love Nikaido even more. And I want to know more about this dog. So Nikaido and Rei also have these two individuals they have to face in order to win. One is, because the regulations say they have to be 5th dan or lower and under 26, Junkei Yamazaki has been the newcomer for the last 4 years. And that's who Nikaido is up against. My thing is, I don't know if Nikaido is going to beat him. He seemed all worked up and Rei talked him down. We focus so much on this match. I'm like, I don't know if Nikaido is going to beat this guy and face Rei in the final, or if it's going to be Rei versus this guy. I don't know. That's the big question. We didn't find out this episode. We know Rei's going to the finals, but we don't know about the other one. And he's like, he's been the newcomer king for the last 4 years. I like that they have this sending you via imaginative video. Like the show is not showing us what they actually look like. It's just what they believe in their head. And like he's probably going to be crowned like undefeated king until he's too old to compete in the tournament. He's like, I don't know if that title would be an honor or dishonor. Yeah, to say you're like king of the newbies. And he's like, to all of us newcomers. And I like that Rei senses that, what does he say there? He says, I don't know if that title would be an honor or a dishonor. And he's like, well, it's a dishonor, of course, to all of us newcomers. And Rei's like, okay. He's like, yeah, you're sorry. He's like, you're right for once. Mm-hmm. So we have all the blue tones in Rei's room and everything and the moonlight on the river. I love the shogi pieces getting blown off the board by Nikaido saying, don't say for once. And he's petting his dog. He's like, you better not lose either to the irritated Prince of the East. So he's like, break him into pieces. So we have Subaru HACHIYA, who's been doing well, which has made him even more irritated. And it says, personality. The more he wins, the more irritated he becomes. 3-stage reverse sliding scale. Attack, fast, play, tongue clicking. Favorite pieces are bishop and rook. The thing about it is, he was irritated even when he lost, so it didn't matter. He's irritated all the time. He's just in a bad mood. He's just a grump. But yeah. Oh my God. And he's like, oh, HACHIYA, I didn't know. He's like, I don't like that tongue clicking. And then he's like, well, be careful, especially right now because he's gunning for us. And he's like, why? Why? And I love that Nikaido's like, well, silly rival of mine. Don't you know that he's after us because you and I are the princes of the next generation, of course. Oh my God. He's like, he was worried that we'll steal his princely position. And he's like, well, what even is that? And he's like, don't laugh, it's true. He said, it even said so in Modern Shogi. Like, he said this in interviews, Ray. Come on now. And he's like, then he tries to tell him about this variation from the study group. And he goes through all of these moves that you could use. And he's like, hey, he's like, which one should I use? Should I use this? Should I use that? He's like, what about this as well? And he kind of starts getting like into all these different moves. And I love just, we've been knowledgeable about shogi up until this point, but it always impresses me to see how fluid the moves go, and like watching Nikaido just sort through all these different options of moves was so impressive. And I was like, it still floors me. I just keep thinking how the mangaka had to be familiarized with shogi enough to know exactly how to make this look so impressive and for it to be impressive to actual shogi players. But Ray's like, hey, he's like, Nikaido, listen. He's like, you'll be fine. And that look there where he's like, Ray telling Nikaido he'll be fine. Like, unheard of in season 1. Unheard of. But Ray's been working so much with Hina in all of this that he kind of knows. He's like, no, it's going to be okay. He's like, we're going to be able to work through this. Just you wait. And I'm like, oh. I freaking love it. I thought it was so wonderful to see Nikaido realize how much Ray is growing. And Ray's like, look, you need... He's like, oh, Kiriyama. And his little eyes twinkling. And his dog looks up at him too, like feeling sorry for him. And he's like, that aside, you're going to go to Osaka tomorrow, a day early. So you need to go to bed. I love that we get that shot of Ray and how blank his room is. And then you cut to Nikaido, and there's like a 4-post bed, like mahogany embroidered railings. He has his picture of the cat shogi king that he's made. He has all of his trophies on his shelf and everything. Like Nikaido has such a luxurious room, and then Ray is just sitting there, but it's Ray telling him that you've got to stay healthy. That's so sweet. He's like, yeah, I got it. I just love the contrast of the mansion to the apartment. And then Ray going outside and seeing the salty breeze. And the saxophone was playing. Oh, saxophone's like the sexiest instrument. It's so good. But he's wondering, what is Hina doing right now? I'm like, you two don't even realize that y'all like each other, right? So he's constantly worried, thinking about Hina and what he can do for her. And what can he do for her to make her feel better? And I'm like, well, you're already doing all that you can. And he kind of addresses that. But the thing of it is, he thinks so little of himself that Ray's like, oh, well, I can't be the ace baseball player that's pitching to her, that's making her feel better. And I'm like, well, no, you're not in middle school with her, so you can't do that. But, like, at this point, I feel like she's kind of gotten over her crush with him and realizes he's just a friend, and she likes you, Ray, but Ray doesn't think of himself well enough to believe that that's even a possibility. He's like, I don't know how I can be helpful, but I want to win. Even if it's just one thing, I want to be strong for them. So he has this thing where he wants to win. He wants to win and be strong for the sisters. And then we get Ray revealing about what he really wants, what he truly desires. He's like, that's right. I want to be needed. And then the big thing of to be needed. And that's such a thing, because I feel like people are either, there are people who want to be needed and people who don't. And there is a very big distinction. Like, there are people that they want to help others, they want to be needed, they want to be relied upon, they want to be dependable. And then there are people that are fine being leaders and not necessarily. There are people that like to be kind of like leaderly figures that like to either delegate or kind of like manage and oversee things, but they're not reliant upon people and they don't want people to be reliant upon them. And then there are people who do want to be needed. I think I follow more into like the other category. I don't feel like I want to be needed all the time, but I know a lot of people that do. And Ray is one of those people. And it kind of makes sense because Ray's entire life, he's not been needed, right? He was pushed when his parents died. He was pushed to the side. And people didn't need him. They just tried to like shove him and put him in a corner somewhere and forget about him. And then when he went to go stay with Coda, he wasn't he felt needed by Coda for the first time, because Coda's like, I, will take you in, but you seem good at shogi and I need someone in my life good at shogi and my kids suck. So let me, I need you to play with me. And so that kind of was the first instance of Ray feeling like he was needed. And that kind of like started that flame. But then while he was there, if he wasn't playing shogi, he didn't feel needed. And so he felt worthless. And so that kind of transcended on into following him around up until now. And now for the first time outside of shogi, he's needed by people. And that's what he's been wanting all along. And he's just slowly realizing that about himself. So we start this other half of the episode as Ray goes to his match. And I love just the cool tones. I love, in comparison to like the red fiery tones from the night before, this is all very cool and like blue colors and blues and purples. And he like grips his bag and he's like, he keeps thinking back to Akari's words. If something happens, I'll be counting on you to help Hina. And as he's walking to his match, he's thinking of those words. And as he's walking, he says to us, the audience, get to that part there, I don't want to miss anything, but he's just mulling over to himself about hearing those words over and over again in his head. I love Shaft doing that turn. He's like, at the time when Akari's cheeks and voice were lit up by the setting sun. What does he say there? He's like, when they were lit up by the setting sun. Oh, of course the videos are going to pause and not go as fast as I want it to, but it was like the first moment of desire that Ray's ever felt. It's like puberty's hit him finally, and he's had this moment of desire. And he talks about it, if the video would ever load for me, if it decides to at some point. I'm gonna go back here and try to get it to load up again. Work for me, video. But yeah, he talks about like seeing like her blushing face and the sunlight and the setting sun, and her talking about, being about needing him. And here we go. And in that moment, Ray experiences for the first time in this, he experiences the idea of desire. Now, do I think that Ray romantically wants to get with Akari? No, I don't think so necessarily. But Akari is an adult woman who, can exude that same kind of feeling for him. Hina's still in middle school, she's still young, but I feel like Akari is a little bit older and more mature, so it comes off a little differently when she asks for it. And he's sitting there looking out at the river and thinking about that moment. He's like, I can't get them out of my head. The words that she said in that image. For the first time, I feel desire for something. And I love this line when he talks about it. He says, and it isn't an innocent desire. No, puberty's hitting him like a truck, and he's like, I'm feeling for the first time wanting something. Like, not necessarily maybe romantically or sexually, but he's like, I feel a desire, and it's not just something innocent, right? It feels more adult. He's like, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, we don't know for sure yet. I don't know. He's like, is it good that I want this? Do I want to help them? Is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I love that he's just mulling this over and thinking about it, right? He's like, but right now I want to win no matter what. I just love it. I love that that's his motivation. He's like, I have this desire. I don't know how to interpret it, but I want to win so I can see where it takes me to the next level. And I love that Smith and the old man are, Yagashiro or whatever his name is, are competing right next to them. So their whole thing was, they were like, Ray, you're really talented. You could beat this guy in like in 30 minutes. Why'd you drag this out? And like to teach him a lesson, you know, it almost felt like they were dragging it out. Like Ray was dragging out the match to teach HACHIYA a lesson. And they were like, just beat him and get it over with so he'll shut up so we can concentrate. I love it. It's so funny. I was like, oh my God. I love how they were like, get on with it. But yeah, so HACHIYA, he would have drove me nuts. Like him just sitting there like tongue clicking and getting the fan and scratching on the little, like scratching against the little board there. Like just being noisy, right? And I love that Ray, he gets annoyed with HACHIYA. But they tell Ray that he only thinks of himself. It's like pot calling the kettle black. Where Ray's sitting over there against HACHIYA, and he's like, all this guy is doing is just thinking of himself. He's not being considerate of anybody else around him, and how dare he? And meanwhile, Smith and them are like, all you do is think of yourself because you think you're the only one in the room that realizes this. We've already realized this a long time ago, and we've accepted it. And the thing about it is they all kind of like HACHIYA because that's just how he is. And I think it's such a lesson in this moment that they all tolerate HACHIYA because they know that deep down at heart, he's irritating and he can be annoying, but he's got a good heart inside. And so they tolerate him. They're like, he's easy to read. He's a simple guy. We get it. And they're like, Ray, you're too hard to read. You try too hard to like be all philosophical and confusing inside. He's like, just, I like Smith saying, he's like, you could be a little bit more simple sometimes. Calm it down. Be a little bit more straightforward like HACHIYA, and maybe that'll help. But the truth of the matter is, Ray is not, they're right, Ray is not much different from HACHIYA. He doesn't click his tongue or snap a fan or scratch his nails, but Ray very much believes he's at the center of the universe. And I'm not saying Ray's a narcissist or anything like that, but sometimes Ray believes he's the only one on an island. Like the island metaphor he said at the beginning about shogi. Sometimes Ray believes he's the only one on the island struggling. And as we've seen from Shimada, as we've even seen from Soya, as we've seen from Nikaido and Goto, so far in the series, Ray is not the only one struggling. All of the people playing shogi and the Kaminato sisters, all of them are struggling through something. So Ray is not alone, and he's not the only one dealing with all of this. But sometimes Ray kind of gets tunnel visioned and forgets that. And so Smith and them at the end were like, you guys are so alike. You think the world only revolves around you, but it doesn't. And they're like, get on with it. But I did honestly get worried in this match that Ray wasn't going to win. I was seriously worried he wasn't going to win because I was like, what if he doesn't? What if Nikaido has to face off against him and Ray doesn't do it? But Ray had that confidence boost from, you know, having the conversation with Akari and Hina and deciding and having his resolve that I'm going to win for them. So that did help him. Now, whether or not Nikaido wins his match and faces Ray, I don't know. This series has surprised me so much. I won't be surprised if Nikaido loses his semifinal match and Ray's the one making it to the finals, but I also won't be surprised if it is Nikaido versus Ray. But if it's Nikaido versus Ray, I think Ray may win. But if it's not Nikaido versus Ray, I think it could be anybody's game. So, I don't know. I just don't want anything bad to happen to Nikaido. I don't want Nikaido to get sick or something to happen and it be like a Shimada case. Because it could be like Shimada versus Soya in Ray versus Nikaido. But I don't want Nikaido to get sick and that be a reason why he doesn't do well. I also really like the style of play between HACHIYA and Ray. I like that he was just so fast, like he instantly made a move. And that is very strategic because like I play chess and sometimes when you start out pretty fast, your opponent, you set a rhythm. It's like anything. If you said, I also thought of HACHIYA during this episode, because there was an episode of HACHIYA where they talk about setting the rhythm with the ball and the play. And sometimes the play gets so fast that you're trying to keep up and you're trying to make it faster and faster and faster. And what happens is you make a mistake because you're not thinking about it. You're not slowing down and not taking it all in. And Ray takes it upon himself to kind of slow things down intentionally, and that irritates HACHIYA even more, but Ray's like, I've got to do this so I can stay focused in the game. And then afterwards, Smith and them are like, you should have done that from the start and just got him off the map and ended the game. Like, you could have done that. You didn't have to drag it out and make him mad because he was being so loud. I love it. I also love how it originally starts out with so many in the shogi hall, and it ends with literally them and Smith and Yagihara at the end. I love it. But yeah, I love the two of them getting worked up. And Ray's like, do you think it's okay? You can just sit there and behave like that and not think about how the opponent will take it. I felt like a lot of what he was doing too was also relating to, you know, on Hina's behalf, Hina feeling that way about the bullies. Like, the bullies are loud and irritating, and Hina being like, why are you being like this? Don't you think this is a problem? The world doesn't revolve around you. What are you doing? I felt like Ray was projecting some of that in that moment, thinking about Hina for this match. But yeah, so he gets cornered and ends up losing. I also really liked the lead up of HACHIYA losing, like him just getting like fidgeting and his eyes getting strained and not knowing what to do. Like, that was a really good lead up. I thought that worked really, really well. And then he ends up losing. This series makes you hold your breath every time, where you're just like, okay, Ray won. Okay, good, great, because you never know what it's gonna do, right? And I love the sound design of this episode, especially during the match. It's like, it was just the sounds, and us getting irritated as the audience was very similar to Ray getting irritated. It was great. So yeah, he just shuts the door to go out, and you know he's gonna go cry, because then he comes back and he's like, got tear-stained eyes. He's like, let's just do the post-mortem and talk about it. Bless his heart. And then I love that Ray and them were just like, can you be more cognizant of us? And of course, Smith loses against the old man, so he's mad too. He's like, all you gotta do is bag him. All you gotta do is bag him, and then before he starts to buzz, geez. He's like, as you get older, it's hard to focus. we can't start a tournament from square one. Stop it. I really want to make it past this round. Hachi is too easy to understand, but Kiriyama, you're too hard to understand. You should live so you're easier to understand, like Hachi. After all, you're both similar on the inside. Smith is basically saying, you need to just calm down. Don't take it so seriously. And then Ray's like, well, I'm not like him. And they're like, yes, you are. Which is so funny. And Ray's like, why? What? And so they head out, wish him luck, and they're like, hang in there. This is where Hachi takes his time when he does the post-mortem. So they're like, well, now that you've riled him up and gotten him mad, he's going to annoy you all evening because he's going to be mad that he lost. And yeah, and he has his eyes all red, despite displaying all of these things he's surprisingly loved with his tear tracks. So then it shows him going to a family restaurant, and he has all of these desserts. And Ray's like, what? He's like, even after that, Hachi hung around Kiriyama and made him engage in a post-mortem at a family restaurant until the wee hours of the night, where he's just eating nonstop. Oh my God. And he's like, as the world revolved around him, Ray's like, I can't understand it. He yelled that 1,000,000 times. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that, he's like, we're not alike. We're nothing alike at all. I don't think that Ray and Hachi are alike in terms of eating their hearts out whenever they lose or anything, but I feel like they are very, very similar in terms of when Hachi lost, he just got so absorbed in that loss and kept being like, well, I don't understand it. Why did I lose? What is this? And just internalized and kind of just went inside himself and was sitting there stewing over it, trying to figure out what happened. And Ray's kind of the same way. Whenever Ray lost, he was like, well, how did this happen? Why did this happen? Am I inadequate? And he internalized the same way. He just wasn't eating parfaits. So they are very similar, even if Ray doesn't want to admit it. Which is so funny to me. But yeah. So that's it. That is essentially that is essentially the episode, and it was a really good episode. I really, really liked this one. I thought it was really, really good. I'm so excited for what's to come. I want to know if Nikaido won his round or not, and if they're going to face each other, but who knows, right? Who even knows? So we'll just have to see what ends up happening, right? So, in any case, I'm excited to hear your thoughts down below. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back next week with more of March Comes In Like a Lion.